All right, time for another draftphysics.com debate. Physics.com also, but just can't really provoke anyone to join in anything called a conversation about how things elementally work and such. So I will deal with some comments. All right. And they have to do with this, the whatever, chatting with a AI thing, the synthetic intelligence, blah, blah, blah. And, it's just, frankly, not very useful because it still is no citation to actual evidence in experiments. And that's what physics is supposed to be. That's what science is basically supposed to be, is a compilation of facts. So you establish something as a fact through an experiment, and then you start figuring out what the facts add up to. But science doesn't work that way. Physics doesn't work that way anyway. All right, so first we will deal some more with, so the only experiment they can find, to prove this magical KE theory is the idea that, all right, so I drop one thing in Newton's cradle, and I just get one out, okay? Same momentum in, same momentum out. But that if I could make a 3 mass, or a 4 mass, or a 5 mass, then I do the same experiment, I hit, and all 3 of these go off with 50% more momentum. So 100 in, 150 out. And as stated, you could simply store this energy, allow the other ball to swing back, and then just have the 2 of them all joined together. And then you have 4 of them with 200 momentum. So you double your momentum for free. That can't happen. All right. So in doing the experiment, this Spar guy is bitching about everything. He doesn't really want to do clinical experiments. He wants to do shitty experiments. So he wants to complain every time somebody says something like, well, you have to figure out what the center of mass is, because it's the center of mass that rises to a point. So you have to either measure from the bottom of the ball to the ground and then measure bottoms, or you have to measure from the center and then measure all centers. But you have to measure it that way. And then he's having all kinds of trouble getting these things to, stay in alignment. Okay. And the other problem is this parallax thing. See, you put a piece of paper behind here with a bunch of crap written on it. The point is the paper is quite a distance from the objects, right? So in his might be 3 inches of distance, between the piece of paper and the actual balls that you're seeing. So when you see them reach a point, well, because of parallax, they don't really reach that point because the 2 things are not in the same frame of reference, essentially. So these are all problems that are fixable. And I've sort of explained, my preferences for a fix. So one of them would be, all right, the first problem is you can, if I zoom in on that, you can see that the little balls don't go right through a little eye hook. It goes through a little thing that's kind of flat. So that keeps the balls from turning. And so if you want to duplicate that, you could just take a piece of paper and just roll it, preferably a piece of thin plastic, and you just roll it into a little tube, and then see a little tube, and then you stick the little tube into the eye, and then the string will come out the 2 sides, and even if you bend it, it won't matter because it'll at least cause it from turning, and that's all you want to do is stop the ball from turning. So that'll help fix that problem. And as I've explained before, the parallax problem, I explained saying that, ideally just have something in line with the Newton's cradle, that is, make a little block that the ball can sit on top of. And then you can see if the little ball is sitting on top of the block or hanging right below it, you can get the height perfect. And then you just add your 1 unit of distance and then your 2 units of distance and make separate little, you can even make them out of cardboard, all right? I mean, can't roll them off of cardboard, but if you made little blocks, it'd be more perfect. But cardboard, even if you made a little cardboard, you glue to the bottom, and then you'd have your measuring device in line. Okay, you don't have to worry about any kind of distortions of parallax. Now, you can't fix the fact that his camera's a wide-angle lens camera, and it really makes a mess. But the fact is, you can do some things to mitigate against the possible errors. And he just doesn't. He doesn't want to hear anything about that. He thinks he's proven it, and whatever. I'm just saying whatever to that crap. All right, the experiments suck. If I did experiments of the same quality of his experiments and claimed I had now established the truth, they would be all over me saying, what a garbage experiment, and blah, blah, you know. And so it's just such hypocrisy. It's a very small bit that you're trying to measure. I mean, when you really look at it, you know, it's a 3/8 of an inch difference between the half velocity and the 1/4 the velocity. So it's not much of a measurement. And that creates all kinds of need for things being very precise, and he just doesn't want to be bothered with that whole very precise thing. Now, we've already seen that in the past. Again, he did this weight with a hammer experiment, and again, I mean, he's saying, well, oh yeah, I'm not allowed to critique him or complain about the quality of his experiments when he leaves a video up that's a complete lie and a distortion. I mean, he did it wrong, and he doesn't fess up to the fact that it's wrong. He doesn't qualify the video. He doesn't even take the video down. He just leaves it up as if he proved something, and all he proved was he hates doing experiments well, and that he's pretty dumb, and that he doesn't know the basic physics you need to know to do the experiments right. So, I mean, I really shouldn't have to explain it again, but the idea is you have a hammer swinging, okay, and you put a mass on it. All right, so there's a mass swinging on the hammer, and you want to find out the difference between 4 of those masses doing this little distance and one of them doing this bigger distance. And what he ended up doing was putting the 1, okay, swinging the big distance out here on the lever, and then you put the 3 mass here. So obviously cheated it, and claimed the experiment was a proof, and obviously it's a piece of garbage. So with that reputation, there's not much to say. So Ian Gosling hasn't done anything with this. He has a video titled The End of Draft Science, where he makes a claim that's completely wrong. All right, I mean, embarrassingly bad. Grammar school kind of physics error thing. Really, really, really bad. And he just leaves the video up. Doesn't change anything, doesn't annotate it, doesn't change the title, whoops, doesn't do anything to indicate, oh, that's a pile of crap. And so unless somebody reads deep in the comment thread, they're not going to know that he concedes he's wrong. Why would you do that? I mean, it's your own reputation. I mean, if somebody knows physics, they know you're just being an idiot out of yourself. And if they don't know physics, you just explain something to them that isn't true. And you did it as if it was so true nobody could possibly deny it. So you're really not doing anybody any favors, shithead. All right. So I guess that's enough, and we'll just go to the comments. And useless. So I made these videos, basically saying, look, these are the videos I want somebody to make a counter argument to, and they just won't do it. So I made a bunch of 5-minute videos that we wouldn't respond to. So I made some more detailed 15-minute videos, including, making a broader argument. And, nobody's going to respond to any of it. And so what's the point? There's no argument here. So until you explain where I'm saying something that's inaccurate in those videos, you really don't have a chance of convincing me of anything. Anyway, so on to the comments. All right, so stupid comment number 1. It's just, it's so useless. You're just, who are these idiots? So the troll gullible. Whatever. Stupid name. But anyway, but everybody knows that momentum can't be conserved. It loses force by quarter of that initial start force. Get it? Question mark. I have no idea. What the fuck? What mush? You really don't understand anything about a conversation, about the fact that you have zero evidence and that you have to point to something called evidence. We've had 300 years, okay, of history. So find a piece of evidence that's 25 years old. Find a piece that's 50 years old. Find a piece somewhere in this historical record. I mean, I'll just remove it. But I mean, it's just so. Next, you're getting blocked. It just seems inevitable. I mean, what a stupid thing to say. Everybody knows it except Professor Lewin. Okay, I mean, I could quote him over and over again all day long. There's no physicist that argues that momentum doesn't have to be conserved, so you can't even find me a physicist saying those words. Momentum doesn't have to be conserved. Well, show me the physicist saying it, you fucking idiot. Oh, God. I mean, these people are just... All right, anyway, so the Vic Mackey guy asked questions to one of these stupid bots, and he was impressed by the answers, and that really surprised me. So we'll go through some of this stuff. So he asked some earlier questions. It was all useless crap, in my opinion. So I said, as expected, these answers are useless mush. Sorry you wasted the time. So I asked 3 questions. So we'll go over those 3 questions. And the answers were garbage. And so then Vic says, what specifically did you find mushy? The fact that there was no citation to any evidence and that they just said things like, well, momentum is important, but kinetic energy is also real. And therefore you have momentum, and then there's also this thing called kinetic energy, but there's momentum, and then there's also kinetic. That's what's called fucking goddamn motherfucking mush, you motherfucker. Okay, that's mush. The 2 theories get different answers for the same question. Do you understand that fucking part? The 2 theories would land differently on the moon. You know what I mean? So the lunar module controlled by MV squared doesn't take the same path as if you calculate thrust based on momentum. The 2 paths are different. Now, obviously, NASA successfully landed on the moon. Now, they didn't use both theories. They used one or they used the other. Now, I'm arguing that they obviously did use momentum because kinetic energy is absolutely meaningless in space. It has no power to move a goddamn fucking thing. It can't do any work because it isn't real. Oh, fuck. Let's see. I really like the homemade experiment it suggested at the end. Amazing. It's a stupid... Well, you go throw a rock at a window and see if the window breaks and see how hard you have to throw the rock before the... I mean, it's just... What are you talking about? you're gonna decide this kind of question with this bullshit? Oh, it's just so... Anyway, take 2 balls of equal size that are 4x different in weight. Okay, again, so we're talking about round objects. So this is the denting clay problem. So we know this doesn't work. And drop them on a pile of sand. So this is the funny part, right? Because this is one of de Chatelet's dopey experiments. And then figured out how far a piece of sand went. And so if the sand went further, it means more energy. When she didn't calculate how much total sand was moved, obviously fast things can give fast velocity. If I throw a baseball at bowling pins, I can make, 90 miles an hour. I can make one of the pins go really fast. All right, doesn't mean that I'm going to knock down all the pins. Doesn't mean I'm going to do more pin action. Just means that, yes, the first pin I hit is going to get moved much faster than it would if it got hit by a 15-mile-an-hour bowling ball. I mean, oh, fuck. Anyway, pile of sand from heights that should theoretically generate the same impact. Yeah. Oh, that's so hilarious. Anyway, measure the depth or diameter of the impact and compare. So again, it's a non-linear experiment. You're putting a round object into something. It has a shape. Obviously, the shape is going to make a difference in how much penetration you get if both objects aren't penetrated completely. But anyway, I don't want... I've already explained the reasons why the de Chatelet experiment was horseshit, the clay experiment. I have to do it over and over and over again for the rest of my life. All right, if they're basically the same, then the physics formula holds true. So it's just wrong. It's not a good experiment. and it won't give you the answer you want. You need something that can consistently absorb energy regardless of speed. Okay, so it absorbs it just as well if the object's moving fast or if the object's moving slow. And so now we're back to levers, because levers can do that conversion. All right, otherwise your objection is validated. I don't know what that means. Wouldn't this work to resolve your dispute, or am I missing something? You're missing 2 years of crappy experiments. For 2 years, Brozo's done all kinds of shitty experiments, okay, lousy spring launching devices, all kinds of shit, all right, for 2 years. So yeah, I don't know, you've missed every video I've made for the last 2 years, apparently. Oh, amazing. So anyway, I said, I'm very surprised you saw any value in that evasive nonsense. If you're going to drop things into sand, you're going to have to make sure that they have exactly the same size profile, and of course their shapes at impact must be very close to flat and take the same surface area. So you can't use a sloped surface. Regardless, denting sand is dumber than denting clay. All right, so then he says to that, all right, how was it evasive? I just can't believe. Everything was evasive. There was no answers to your fucking questions. No matter how much you qualified the question, there was no fucking answer, was there? Did it cite any evidence? Did it cite anything? It said, go ask NASA, didn't it? Wasn't that its answer? Well, go ask NASA. I don't know. Wasn't that its fucking answer? I just can't believe this bullshit. Let's see. It directly answered my question. Well, it didn't answer any of mine. I said to it that it didn't have an existing video to show me. So exactly. So if it doesn't have any evidence to show you, then isn't that exactly the point? Then what's the fucking point? There's nothing to argue then. You don't have any evidence. You just have a religion. Then it should suggest a homemade experiment that I could conduct with common supplies. And again, what have we been seeing for 2 fucking years? We've been seeing these shitty experiments. We just saw, again, Dispar make this stupid hammer experiment, complete lie. He knocked over a milk bottle. Complete lie experiment, because you can't measure anything correctly. The sand was just an example. An example of what? If this experiment was so fucking simple, okay, then it would have been already done. All right. The fact is that it has to be done a little bit carefully, clinically, scientifically. All right. It can't be done. You can't just roll an object on a flat surface and say, well, how far did it go? It's not that simple. As I've been over and over again. Of course, you could use clay too. So again, we're right back to the same fucking bullshit. I mean, amazing. Brozo was dropping clay out of a window. I mean, dropping things into clay out of a window. He went up 2 stories to drop shit into clay for some reason. Oh, god damn it. Fuck you. On Amazon or a local hobbyist craft store, you can find precision balls. Okay, well, we'll go find some precision balls. Yeah, of the same size but made of different materials. Well, they have to be the same frickin' elasticity for these experiments, okay? They have to be the same elastic character. They can't just be the same size and different materials. They have to be able to be equally elastic. You wouldn't strictly need a 4-to-1 ratio to test the physics formula. So where did you even get the 4-to-1 from? We don't have anybody doing 4-to-1. We've had 3-to-1. Of course. After you're finished with the experiment, you could return the balls for a refund. Well, why would I even do that? I mean, this is just such bullshit. Why should I have to do it anyway, fuckhead? Why don't you ask your bot? Why not in 350 fucking years of a theory don't they have any physical experimental evidence? You know, and why didn't, when the Mythbusters crashed cars into brick walls, how come they didn't find any kinetic energy? Oh, fuck you, Vic, really. Seems like a pretty easy way to finally put this debate to a test, no? No, it doesn't seem reasonable at all. Again, these, you know, Why should this be done amateurly? Okay, it should be done with a high-speed camera. Why didn't your fucking goddamn stupid bot fucking figure out that, well, you know, a high-speed camera would be the most precise way to measure these velocities because you'd have a billion frames to work with. You know, so no problem. I really didn't think you were an asshole in this whole conversation, but apparently you are. All right, so anyway, so I said, thanks, I appreciate so he offered to do this bot thing. So I responded to another comment by saying, thanks, I appreciate the offer, although I'm not convinced these pop culture regurgitation devices are of much use. Debate really has to be focused on evidence, not just a logically consistent argument, but also real physical experiments. If the bots can't provide sources, then they're probably not going to be very useful. Here are some questions you might try. So he rewrote all these questions, so there was just no point, because he already knows the bot isn't going to give you a rational answer. So he had to actually tell the bot, don't give me an irrational bullshit answer. You know, is there any physical experimental evidence that 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is the same energy as 1 pound dropped 4 feet? Now, it's a pretty simple question, right? Is there any physical experimental evidence? So that's, you know, that's what we're looking for. Now, Despard did a similar experiment and completely cheated and faked it. Okay, and then didn't qualify the bad experiment in any way whatsoever, and honestly fess up that it's a pile of shit. So he just left a lie up. All right, when landing on the lunar module on the surface of the moon, did NASA use momentum to calculate the amount of thrust required to land on the surface? So I guess I said momentum versus kinetic energy. But, you know, because again, the answer is just evade. Well, of course it used momentum, but then it also used kinetic energy, I think. You know, but the bot doesn't know. When adding mass to a moving object, it loses kinetic energy, but conserves its momentum. So this is the 5-ton train going 10 velocity, and you add 5 tons to the train, and now it's a 10-ton train going 5 velocity, and it lost half its kinetic energy, but has all of its momentum, which is impossible. You can't lose energy and keep your momentum. It's not possible to interact with something and then give it energy and you don't lose any of your momentum. It's not possible. How can an object lose energy or do work without using or losing its momentum? All right, so he rewrote the questions, which is his prerogative. Question 1. Is there any physical experimental evidence 4 pounds drop 1 foot is the same as 1 pound drop 4 feet? I'm not interested in physics equations. Can you reference any experiment that I can see with my own eyes? Why are you putting in this extra I can see with my own eyes stuff? I mean, wasn't it enough just can you reference any experiment? Okay. That proves this holds true in reality. So it's more qualifying crap that just adds mushy words. Failing that, don't give him an out. Why are you saying failing that? That's the whole point. Why failing that? You know, perhaps you can tell me how to easily verify this in real life with an experiment or tools that can be easily find and use at home. So just so this is where it comes up with this. Well, take a can of soup and spin it around 3 times, and then open it to, you know, by sawing it in half, and that'll tell you whether the soup is thick or thin or some kind of, you know, what the fuck are you talking about? All right, so this is the mush part. I mean, it's just all this jargon. Okay, the principle that you're referencing relates to the physics concept of potential energy. So it has nothing to do with potential energy, right? I mean, it clearly just has to do with the exchange of energy. All right, so there's no potential energy in here at all. There's just saying, here's some energy in a system. Something's moving these speeds when it hits the surface of the Earth. What is its energy? which in theory tells us that the potential energy PE, so this is more nonsense, is equal to the mass multiplied by the gravitational constant and the height. So we already know what its mass and velocity are going to be from the height drop. So this isn't even an issue. It's going to be going twice as fast. That's it. So we don't need any of this formalization crap. It doesn't do any good, and it's completely wrong. Okay, I mean, MGH isn't right. It's MGT. But whatever. The thing causing the effect is time, not height. Height is only incidentally correct in this one case. If the objects were going into the gravity, you can't even use MGH. So it has to always be when you statically drop something from a static condition, you let it go in gravity. It's the only condition that works. If you use MGT, then any condition works. According to this principle, a 4-pound weight dropped to 1 foot and a 1-pound weight dropped from 4 feet should have the same potential energy. So what's the point of saying potential energy when you've already turned it into kinetic energy? When it hits the ground, it's real energy, okay? It's not potential energy. It's active energy. It's not inactive energy. Oh, fuck this stupid bulb mush. This is mush. Provided there's no other energy losses like air resistance. Yes, of course. While there are many controlled experiments. So there's absolutely no controlled experiment. So just a lie. So the fucking bot lied to you. All right, and you're impressed. Okay. In physics textbooks and academic demonstrations. Where? So show me one of those. Where's the academic demonstration where they drop 4 pounds from 1 foot and 1 pound from 4 feet? Where is it? So it just makes this shit up, okay, that illustrate the concept using sophisticated equipment. There's no such thing. So so you get this big, fat, juicy lie here. So he states that there are experiments cited, and he can't cite any experiments. He just cites that, well, people say so. Okay, you can also perform a simple experiment at home to test this principle. So this is just bullshit. This is just Wikipedia. It got this off some little grammar school textbook website where they explain to the teacher how to set up an experiment that's a piece of shit. It didn't invent any of this crap. It's just gurgitating this crap it found in some sort of, like I said, a grammar school textbook. This is grammar school science. Oh, so we really don't need to do this, right? 2 objects of different weights, okay, a tape measure, a hard surface that won't be damaged or can safely absorb impact. So it doesn't even make any sense, right? We need it to absorb the impact by leaving a dent, okay? So that doesn't even make any sense. A basic video recording device, well, gee, that might help. Anyway, measurement. So here it's an experimental setup. Measurement. Use the tape measure to set precise drop heights for your weights. Let's see. You'll need to mark the height of 1 foot and the other at 4 feet. Well, that's so interesting, right? It doesn't have to be 1 foot. It just has to be 4 to 1. Dropping the weights. First, drop the 4-pound weight from a height. Okay, so it's got to tell you to actually drop the 2 weights. Okay, observation. Observe and note the effects on each weight when it hits the surface. What surface? It didn't describe what we're supposed to be banging it into. This could include sound of impact and depth or mark they leave on the surface is soft enough or any other observable effect. So again, this is just so physically inept in the fact that it really matters whether you dent something or penetrate something. Putting a pointy arrow. See, I can prove. Look, if I point the 1 pound and I don't point the 4 pounds, okay, it's going to look like the 1 pound has a lot more energy because I pointed the thing. So it matters what shape the surface is. Oh, I've been over that so many times. Anyway, recording, who cares? What to look for? Impact force. Although this home experiment doesn't measure the energy directly, the impact can give you an indirect comparison. The theory predicts that both should generate similar impacts. As the energy converted from potential to kinetic energy upon hitting the ground should be the same. Well, yeah, again, so it's all this should be stuff. So they've had 300 years. The bot can't find any evidence, okay? It can't find the experiment, and what it's doing is giving you a recipe in a grammar school science book. throw something up and you'll see it come back down, and you could record that with a video camera. Look, it went up and then it came back down. There, science. Alright, anyway, limitations. The experiment has limitations. It won't perfectly accurate due to factors like air resistance, so we know that's a minor problem. And the exactness of how each weight lands. Well, isn't that funny? I mean, how should that be different? Also, without precise instruments, it's hard to measure the exact force of impact. So, you know, oh yeah, do the experiment, but it'll be a pile of crap like a Brozo experiment. Alright, this setup should give you a basic visual way to understand the test the principles using simple tools. Right, and again, it's physically wrong because it's not appreciating that high velocity looks different than low velocity, but it doesn't mean it has more energy. Because something moves away fast doesn't mean there's more energy. It's about how much mass in total was moved, not how fast one piece of matter was moved. All right. It's a hands-on approach to exploring fundamental physics concepts. So you don't think that's just some crap written in some silly little fucking textbook? And you say you don't know where the mush is? Oh, that's where the mush is, fucker. So question 3 came first. I don't know why exactly. All right, so when landing on the the lunar module on the surface of the moon, momentum to find out. Don't make any assumptions. So he has to tell the bot to not make any assumptions. I don't even know what that even means. Only tell me if there's documentary or conclusive evidence of some sort. So why, yes, that's it. So it should be a yes, there's evidence, or no, there's no evidence. But he doesn't get that. Yes, NASA used momentum calculation. So this doesn't mean anything because it's going to qualify it now. Among other methods. What other method? Again, there's no other way to do it. You either use MV or you use MV squared. You can't use a combination because then you're certain to get the wrong answer. Okay, thrust doesn't work that way. It's just either there is this extra energy or there isn't. Either it takes more force to make your extra energy or it doesn't take more force to make it. To determine the amount of thrust required for the lunar module to land on the moon, the guidance, navigation, and control systems of the Apollo lunar module were specifically designed to handle the descent trajectory. So again, just this isn't much to you. It can't give you the right answer. It can't give you an answer. And so instead of just saying, I don't know, it says this crap. Okay, I mean, that's not even going to say the computer has formulas in it. The fact is that the computer space was very valuable. And MV squared, as I understand it, wasn't in. 1/2 MV squared wasn't one of the formulas in the computer. It wasn't usable because it didn't need to use it. Because it has no meaning in space. Okay, optimizing the engine's thrust during the landing. So this has nothing to do with optimizing anything or doing any of that crap. It just has to do with calculation about how long you leave the thruster on. And what's it based on is an understanding of how much mass moving what velocity you have ejected. And that's the simple mechanics that NASA used. This process involves intricate calculations. So again, they're pretty much simple. Okay, if you're bending a little this way, then you just turn the steering wheel. Okay, that's all that's happening. It's just readjusting the steering. Okay, that ensures the module's descent is controlled and the landing was stabilized. So that's, again, this is just generic mush off of, again, this is Wikipedia style horseshit. Just read a few different references and then write it in some new form. And yes, use Grammarly and have very nice grammar, but it's all just babble. All right, question 4 had something to do with a PDF he got. That PDF you linked does not make any mention of momentum. So, of course, the bot gave him a suggestion, and the suggestion really didn't have anything to do with the subject. What a surprise. You're correct, and I appreciate your attention to detail. So, wasn't it flatter you and say, I think your hair looks so cool. The specifics the specific mention of momentum might not be directly outlined in the document I referenced. Well, then I guess it doesn't have anything to do with answering the question. All right, and it seems there was an error in the way I described its contents. So again, it's saying, look, I read certain things on the internet and they told me certain things, but I guess they don't mean anything because they don't have any references either. I mean, so all it does is go out on the internet, looks for shit, regurgitates the shit, and then you say, oh, what a surprise, it's the same shit I found. All right, I mean, just, again, this is all just made, look, and why does it keep going? Why does it keep saying shit? It already answered the question. It has no evidence. It can't tell us what NASA did. For the Apollo lunar module, the main calculations for landing involved managing the descent trajectory and adjusting the thrust accordingly. Well, duh, we already know that part. That wasn't the question. The engineers focused on the gravitational, so there are no engineers, right? It's all a computer that does all this stuff. So the whole thing is controlled by a computer. They press the button and it lands. All right, and they only get involved in the last little part where they say yes or no to the landing site. The engineers focused on the gravitational pull of the moon, duh. The lunar module's mass, duh. Descent. I mean, all this is just, what is this shit? So we're talking about the thrust having to be applied to change the descent. The attitude to compute the required thrust to ensure a safe landing. So again, yeah, we all know that. Are the calculations based on momentum or mv squared? These calculations are more directly related to dynamics and the laws of motion rather than momentum in the explicit form. Says so. So again, it's just made that shit up, right? So we know that, no, the truth is it either used mv squared or it used mv. And I'm making the assertion that it certainly used mv. Because that's all thrust is mass and velocity. If you're interested in the precise technical details, yeah, that would be cool. NASA's historical archives or engineering documentation on the Apollo mission would provide the most accurate and detailed description of the methods used. Well, wouldn't that be nice if that was somewhere available on the World Wide Web? But apparently not. All right, so question 5. So you don't actually know then if they took momentum into account. It's not a taking moment. It's either or. You keep leaving the question open. It's either one or the other. Both of them can't land anywhere. You have to use one theory or the other theory. You don't have direct evidence from the documents I've reviewed that specifically mention the use of momentum calculations in the Apollo lunar landing procedure. The primary focus in the available documents relates more to managing descent dynamics through control of thrust. Yes, exactly. How can you control the thrust, though, if you don't have a formula for doing it? And the trajectory of the landing, explicit momentum. For precise and detailed information regarding exact calculations used, including whether momentum was considered, consulting NASA's detailed technical archives or specific engineering analysis of the Apollo missions would be necessary. So exactly, how do you even know these archives exist? How do you even know any of that, Mr. Bot? You can't view it, and I can't view it. So how do you know what's in it? Amazing bullshit. All right, so question 6. I don't even remember question 6, but whatever. When adding mass to a moving object, it loses kinetic energy but conserves its momentum. How can an object lose energy or do work without using or losing its momentum? Explain it intuitively. So again, you must not watch any of my videos because I don't want anything discussed intuitively, whatever the fuck that is. Not just through axiomatic physics equations. The point is to produce some sort of reasoning and evidence. Now there's no reasoning. It can't be defended. It's impossible to move something without something losing its momentum. Something else can't move in the universe without something somewhere losing momentum. I mean, this is just such a ridiculous conversation. Imagine you have a moving skateboard and you jump on it. So the skateboard's already moving, and you're going to add your weight to it. Now, unfortunately, that experiment, you're going from, a 2 pounds of skateboard to 100 pounds of human, so it's a huge, gigantic, and you're obviously not falling on it, you're jumping on it, so you already have your own momentum. So that doesn't, nobody falls on a skateboard. The skateboard slows down, but it's still moving forward with you on it. So it's obvious that, again, this bot doesn't know anything about reality. So it doesn't even know that what it just said is silly. Okay, I mean, the skateboard's moving and you drop 100 pounds on it. It's not just going to slow down. It's going to stop. All right, because it's way too much mass for it to move. All right, this demonstrates momentum conservation. So what a joke. The combined mass, you and the skateboard, still move forward because the momentum, mass times velocity before and after you jump on it, are the same. So obviously in this case, it proves the point, and the kinetic energy was destroyed. So you have less kinetic energy in the final outcome. You conserve the momentum, you have less kinetic energy. Now, I didn't even realize that, well, how do you explain the absence of kinetic energy? However, the skateboard does slow down, showing a loss of kinetic energy. The energy loss happens because when you jump on the skateboard, some of the system's energy is absorbed by your legs. So what a pile of shit. That wouldn't change anything. Okay, as they bend and cushion the landing. They can't cushion the landing. Converting kinetic energy into potential energy. So more nonsense. In your muscles and into heat due to friction and deformation. So again, just a nonsense explanation. That would have to take away my momentum. So the fact is the way he described it is you're going to drop the human on the skateboard. It would be irrelevant what energy the human loses because it's just doing this little tiny movement. Ideally, when they do this experiment, they just drop the weight 1/4 of an inch. So it's a tiny bit of falling distance. And obviously that motion down has nothing to do with the motion this way. So it has no way of stopping the motion this way. Motion down does not destroy motion in this way. This way's motion is not destroyed because you push down on this object. So just complete bullshit. Rotten, lousy physics. So again, it's more argument somehow the loss in motion this way happened because the human did something. It absorbed some kind of energy. No, it didn't. All right. Thus, the system conserves momentum but loses kinetic energy because energy can be transformed forms and dissipate. So again, you can't dissipate. You can't make heat without using something's momentum. There's no fucking possible way to make something hot without using something, taking the velocity away from something. Something has to lose velocity for you to make heat. While momentum as a vector quantity depending on both mass and velocity remains constant in the absence of external forces. So it didn't answer the question. How is it possible to conserve 100% of your momentum and do work? So it didn't answer the question clearly, Vic. Let's see what this says. Looks like YouTube shadow banned the first 2 answers. So whatever. The rest of the answers sucked anyway. Is there any physical evidence 4 pounds? If you show me a video, then tell me how I can easily verify this at home in common supply. So that looks like the same one I already read. Try this experiment to see the potential. I dropped 4 pounds. We already did this. Listening to the sound. Yeah, we did that crap. Okay. Can't get the second question answer to post, but basically referenced experiments on the Pocket AB platform and blog, whatever that is. And it also suggested video search terms. There's one titled Potential Kinetic Energy. So it's a Bruce Yearney video. I've already played these videos. Useless crap. And again, this isn't about potential energy. It's not about whether it's in a potential or an active state. So again, this isn't the question is about MV squared. Okay, by the way, you can literally speak. I don't, who cares? So I think that's about it. All right. So again, I'm sorry that you're impressed with those nothing answers. I mean, nothing. They resolved nothing. They cited no evidence, didn't include any information that was at all valuable. No reference to any. They didn't even reference anything called an authority or a statement. Didn't even quote Professor Lewin. Didn't do a damn thing, but waste my goddamn time reading that mush. So, thanks for nothing, fella. I mean, really, I appreciate, it's great. Go ahead. You want to play with these bots and see if you can get them to actually do something that means something. They can actually say something that's verifiable and intelligent. But there was nothing in this crap that was useful unless you're 7 years old. This is just mommy says. This isn't, there's nothing here. There's no science. There's no logic. It's the stupid bot isn't a thinking device. It's a mimicking device. And it's unfortunate people think these stupid bots can think. They can't. They can just trick you. They're masters at creating the illusion of an intelligent comment, not the reality of an intelligent comment. They're just giving you the appearance, the facade of an intelligent comment. Look, the grammar's really good. The spelling's perfect. The punctuation is elegant. I mean, it's great. But the substance is nothing. It knows what it can get away with to fool idiots. And that's it. And it gets away with it. All right, I'll see if there's anything else, but I doubt there is anything. It's just very depressing and disappointing. And people really, it's funny that people just don't watch these. So the argument 1 video got 142 views. Yeah, kind of shit. And it looks like the argument 2 one is going to be about in the same circumstance. But no relevant comment, no counter arguments made, nothing explaining how friction works some other way than I explained. Just nothing. And that is useless. I mean, I can't argue with nothing. And obviously, the few times that somebody that does interject, I mean, this friction argument obviously has the thin ice argument in it. And the fact that these idiots won't concede that thin ice doesn't break because you can slide weight across it. And by sliding the weight across it, the weight doesn't weigh as much per foot of surface. It weighs less because it's moving across the surface. Just an absolute fact. It weighs less on the surface. The surface is recording less pressure. The faster something moves across the surface, the less pressure it imposes on the surface. Fuck. The fact that these idiots can't understand that. Alright. Yeah, alright. Well, I'll pause, but I don't think there's anything else. Alright, back. Yeah, so I guess I just say, 300 years. We've had 350 years. They've had this theory. Okay, I think before then, nobody thought anything was squared. So I think everybody thought momentum was the only thing that worked in the universe. And I'd certainly argue that Galileo, Newton, and Descartes believed in momentum. They didn't believe in mv squared. Clearly. So anyway, so this squaring of the velocity, which doesn't work in electricity, by the way. Let's just understand wattage is not voltage squared. They've had all this time and we don't have, they're telling us, they told us 350 years ago that 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is the same energy as 1 pound dropped 4 feet. And in 300 years, they've never done the physical experiment. I mean, the bot just told you how to do it. Just put a blob of sand on the ground and drop the things and blah, blah. They haven't even done that. They haven't even done the bot's jackass recipe, okay? Let alone a more sophisticated way to do it. right? So that we do have this spar. I mean, he did do it, with a hammer, but he cheated, okay? And he put the 3 mass up here and the 1 mass down here. Longer pendulum, more energy. Shorter pendulum, less energy. Duh. Anyway, so, just bullshit. That they won't even acknowledge that they shouldn't have an axiom that they've had 300 years to test, and they haven't tested it in 300 years. They haven't produced one experiment demonstrating it to be true in 300 years. I mean, that's just ludicrous science. It's garbage. It's religion is what it is. That's all you people are, is religious kooks. Fanatics.